You know that feeling, right? It happens in a flash. 1 second, everything's fine, and the next you're just seeing red. We've all been there, that sudden white-hot surge of aggression. But have you ever stopped to ask, where does that actually come from? Well, it turns out it's not just about what's happening right in front of you. It's about these hidden patterns, these old programs running deep, deep inside our minds.
So, yeah, why do we snap? I mean, what is it that turns a tiny little annoyance into this huge, overwhelming emotional reaction? That's the big question we're going to dig into today. We're looking at some really fascinating research that actually bridges the gap between our conscious thoughts and, well, our deepest, most unconscious reflexes.
I mean, think about it. You're walking down the street and a stranger just gives you a funny look, holds it maybe a second too long. Or you send this long, detailed email to your boss, and the reply is just one word. Okay, right? On a good day, you'd probably just brush it off, maybe not even notice. But on a bad day, whoa, it can feel like a total declaration of war. These are the kinds of everyday triggers we're talking about.
Okay, so let's start peeling back the layers here. The first piece of this whole puzzle is the story we tell ourselves. This is what's happening right on the surface, you know? It's all about how our conscious mind is making sense of the world, interpreting things in a split second.
And this brings us to a really key idea from social cognitive research. It's called the hostile attribution bias. Sounds complicated, but it's basically a mental shortcut. When a situation is ambiguous, like that one-word email from your boss, your brain doesn't like uncertainty. So instead of waiting for more info, it just jumps to the quickest and often the most threatening conclusion. They're being hostile. And this is so important to get. This isn't some slow, deliberate choice you're making. The research is really clear on this. It's a lightning-fast, totally automatic process. It's kind of like there's this faulty script running in the background of your mind, and it's shaping your reality before you even get a chance to stop and question it. But that begs the question, right? Where does that faulty script even come from? Who wrote it? Well, to answer that, we have to go deeper. We got to go beyond our conscious thoughts and look at the mind's, its hidden bodyguards. We're talking about our unconscious defense systems. So, in psychodynamic theory, these are called defense mechanisms. And let's be super clear, these are not things you choose to do. They are completely unconscious strategies that your mind is using all the time to protect you, from anxiety and inner conflict. They are literally operating 24/7, just bubbling away right below the surface. Now, here's the thing. Not all of these defenses are the same. The research we're looking at zeroes in on a specific type called image-distorting or immature defenses. So, take projection, for example. This one's a classic. Let's say you have a feeling that you're not comfortable with, maybe some aggression. Instead of admitting, hey, I feel angry, your mind just flips it. It projects that feeling onto somebody else. And suddenly, it's not you who's angry. Nope, it's them. They're the angry one. See how that works? Okay, and this is where it all clicks into place. You see the pattern here? That hostile attribution bias? That's the conscious thought. That person is definitely being hostile to me. But projection? That's the deep, unconscious reflex that put that thought in your head to begin with. It's like they're two sides of the exact same coin. One is what you think. The other is why you think it. All right, so this all sounds like a pretty neat theory, right? But can we actually see it? Can we prove this stuff is really happening? This is where the science gets so cool, because this study uses neuroscience to literally connect these two psychological layers. I mean, think about it. How on earth do you measure a hidden bias? How do you actually see an unconscious expectation playing out inside someone's brain? Well, it turns out you look for the brain's surprise signal. So what the scientists did was they used EEG to look at a very specific brainwave called the N400. The easiest way to think about this is it's the brain's built-in, oops, wait a minute signal, or a surprise detector. This signal spikes anytime your brain comes across something that totally violates its expectations. It's like a little neurological double take. And check this out. These brain maps from the studies show us exactly what that looks like in action. So in the experiment, they had people read these ambiguous stories that all ended peacefully. Now, logically, you'd think someone who's always expecting a fight would be super surprised by a friendly ending, right? Their surprise signal should go through the roof. But the researchers found the complete opposite. The people with the strongest hostile bias actually showed a smaller surprise signal. It's like their brains were so convinced a threat was coming that a safe outcome barely even made a dent. It's wild. They weren't just expecting hostility, they were actively filtering out anything that didn't fit that world. So let's just break this down because this is the core finding. It is a crystal clear chain reaction. The more that people relied on those immature, image-distorting defenses like projection, the more likely they were to be aggressively reactive. And the brain scans proved it. Those same people showed a weaker surprise signal when things ended well. Their brains were, for all intents and purposes, already braced for a fight. So what does this all mean for you and me? What's the big takeaway? Well, this isn't just some abstract science experiment. Understanding this whole chain reaction from the deep unconscious defense to the brain activity, all the way to our actual aggressive behavior, it gives us a really powerful way to think about breaking these patterns in our own lives. You can see how it becomes this vicious cycle, right? It starts with those immature defenses like projection that make us see threats that aren't even there. This then feeds a conscious bias where we're always expecting the worst from people. So what do? We react aggressively to that perceived threat. And of course, our aggression often gets a negative response back. And what does that do? It just proves to our brain that its original hostile assumption was right all along, and the cycle continues. But, and this is a big but, here's the hopeful part. The research doesn't just focus on the problem, it also points to the solution. There are these things called adaptive defenses, which are basically just healthier mental strategies. So instead of projecting our anger out, we can use self-observation and ask, wait, why am I actually feeling this way? Instead of splitting, seeing someone as all good or all bad, we can use humor to maybe diffuse the tension. It's really about consciously choosing to look through a clearer lens, one that sees the world in color, with nuance and empathy, instead of a distorted one that only sees threats in black and white. So the next time you feel that flash of anger, that urge to snap, just try to remember this. Your reaction isn't just about that one moment, about what that person said or did. It's really the final step in a long, complex chain reaction. It starts with these deep, unconscious patterns that have, over time, literally wired your brain to expect a fight. And ultimately, that's the powerful idea this research leaves us with. Our brains are basically just prediction machines. They're constantly running on old software, old patterns, to try and guess what's going to happen next. So really, the question isn't if you have these patterns, we all do. The real question is, which ones are you letting run the show?